You supported them when nobody else would. You gave your time, your money, your energy, things you didn't have to give, and the moment you stopped, they turned on you, not because you changed, because you finally stopped being useful. If this has ever happened to you, you're not naive. You've just walked into one of the most painful patterns in human psychology, and today I'm going to show you exactly why it happens. There are 5 specific reasons why the people you help will almost always betray you. And reason number 5, that is the one that keeps me up at night. In 12 years of practice, it is the cruelest thing I have ever watched one person do to another after being helped. And when I describe it to you, you won't just recognize it. You will remember the exact person who did it to you. Stay until the end. That one alone is worth the entire video. My name is Callum Reeves. I'm a behavioral psychologist. I've spent 12 years sitting across from people who gave everything and got nothing back, and the pattern is always the same, every single time. Reason number 1, helping creates a debt nobody asked for. Here's something most people never think about. When you help someone, really help them financially, emotionally, professionally, you think you're giving a gift, but in their mind, you just created a debt, not a financial debt, an emotional one. And emotional debts are heavier than financial ones because there's no clear way to repay them. Think about it. When someone lends you money, you know the number. You pay it back. It's done. But when someone saves you during the worst moment of your life, when someone sees you at your lowest and lifts you up, how do you repay that? You can't. And that inability to repay sits inside a person like a stone. At first, they're grateful, genuinely grateful. But weeks pass, months pass, and every time they see your face, they don't see a friend. They see a reminder of who they were when they needed you. They see the debt, and they begin to resent the person holding it. You. I had a client 2 years ago, 38 years old, ran a small business. He'd lent his best friend roughly $60,000 over 4 years. Not all at once. A few thousand here, a few thousand there, always when the friend was in trouble. He never asked for it back. He never brought it up. He thought that was what loyalty looked like. When he finally stopped lending, not even asking for repayment, just stopped giving more, his friend called him selfish, told mutual friends he'd changed. Within 6 months, the friendship was over. He sat in my office and said, "Callum, I did everything right." And I told him something he didn't want to hear. "You did everything generously. That's not the same thing. Generosity without boundaries doesn't protect a relationship. It detonates it, slowly, quietly, from the inside. So here's what you do. Before you help someone, ask yourself one question. If they never pay me back, never say thank you, and never mention this again, am I okay with that? If the answer is no, don't give it. Because you're not giving a gift. You're creating a debt, and that debt will cost you the relationship. Reason number 2, you become a witness to their weakness. This one is subtle, and most people never see it coming. When you help someone in a moment of real vulnerability, when you see them broken, scared, desperate, you become something dangerous. You become a witness. You saw them at their lowest. You know what they looked like when they couldn't handle their own life. And for some people, that knowledge is unbearable. They don't hate you for what you did. They hate you for what you saw. It's the reason some people cut off the exact friend who helped them through a divorce, the exact coworker who covered for them when they were falling apart, the exact family member who paid their rent when they couldn't. Because every time they look at you, they see their own weakness reflected back. And instead of making peace with that, instead of accepting that everyone needs help sometimes, they remove the mirror. They remove you. This isn't rational. It isn't fair, but it's deeply human. And if you've ever been blindsided by someone who suddenly went cold after you helped them through something real, this is almost always the reason. You didn't do anything wrong. You just saw too much, and they couldn't forgive you for it. What can you do about this? Nothing. And that's the point. You can't unsee what you saw. You can't pretend you weren't there. But you can recognize the pattern early. If someone you helped starts pulling away, don't chase them. Don't ask what you did wrong. You already know. Give them space. And if they come back, let them come back on their terms. If they don't, that tells you everything about who they are, not who you are. Reason number 3, your help becomes their cage. This is the one most people never see coming because it doesn't look like betrayal, it doesn't feel like betrayal, but it is quietly the most destructive of all 5. When you help someone consistently, month after month, year after year, something shifts in the dynamic. You think you're supporting them, but what you're actually doing is building a cage around them. A comfortable cage, a golden cage, but a cage, because every time you solve their problem, you send an invisible message. You can't do this without me. You don't mean to send it, but they receive it. And over time, that message becomes their identity. They start to believe it. I can't handle this on my own. I need them. And here's where it turns dark. Nobody wants to live in a cage, even a comfortable one. The human need for autonomy, for feeling capable, independent, self-sufficient, is one of the most powerful drives we have. And when someone realizes that your help has quietly made them dependent, they don't feel grateful. They feel trapped. And what does a trapped person do? They attack the walls. They attack you. I see this constantly in my practice. A man supports his partner financially for years, pays for everything, thinks he's being a good partner. And one day she says, "You make me feel like I can't do anything on my own." He's confused. He was trying to help, but she doesn't see help anymore. She sees control, even if that was never his intention. The betrayal that comes from this place is the most painful kind, because you genuinely believed you were doing something good, and in a way, you were. But help that creates dependency isn't help. It's a slow-motion trap for both of you. This is what I tell every client who sits across from me, wondering why their generosity backfired. Don't solve their problems. Involve them in the solution. Don't carry the weight. Teach them to carry it. The goal of helping someone should be to make them strong enough to never need your help again. Anything else, anything less, will eventually turn against you. If you've ever helped someone and ended up losing them because of it, if you're listening to this right now and thinking, "That's exactly what happened to me," hit that like button. Not for the algorithm, because it tells me this is a conversation that matters. And there are 2 more reasons left that you need to hear. Reason number 4. Your stability is their mirror. Sometimes betrayal has nothing to do with the help itself. It has to do with what your help reveals about the difference between you. When you help someone, you are, by definition, in a position to help. You have the money, the stability, the strength, the discipline, and the person receiving your help sees all of it, not just the gift, the gap. Your stability becomes a mirror, and not everyone can stand that reflection. Instead of being inspired by your position, some people are quietly destroyed by it. They don't look at you and think, "I want to get there too." They look at you and think, "Why them and not me?" That thought doesn't stay a thought. It becomes resentment. It becomes distance. It becomes the friend who suddenly stops calling, the relative who starts making comments about your success, the person who was grateful last year and bitter this year. Not because anything changed, but because your continued stability kept reminding them of their continued struggle. You're not too sensitive for noticing this. You're just surrounded by people who can't handle the reflection. And the hardest part is, you can't fix it. You can't dim yourself to make someone else comfortable. That's not help. That's self-destruction disguised as kindness. Here's my rule for this. Pay attention to how people react to your good news. Not your bad news, your good news. The person who goes quiet when you succeed, who changes the subject when you share something you're proud of, who finds a way to minimize what you've accomplished, that person has already told you who they are. Stop helping them. They don't want your hand, they want your fall. Reason number 5, they rewrite the story. This is the one I warned you about at the beginning, the cruelest of all 5. And I need you to listen carefully because once you understand this, you will never unsee it. When someone betrays you after you've helped them, they have a problem. They know, somewhere inside, that what they're doing is wrong, that you were good to them, that you didn't deserve this. But they can't live with that knowledge and still feel okay about themselves. So they rewrite the story. Suddenly, your help wasn't really help, it was control. Your generosity wasn't generosity, it was manipulation. Your kindness wasn't kindness, it was a power move. They reconstruct the entire history of your relationship until they become the victim and you become the villain. I had a client, a woman, 42, a teacher. She'd been supporting her younger sister financially for nearly a decade. When she finally drew a line, her sister told the entire family that she had been holding money over her head for years. That she was controlling and toxic. The family believed it, because the sister told the story first. And the story she told was the one that made her look like the wounded party. My client sat across from me and said, 10 years. I gave her 10 years, and she turned it into a weapon. This is what betrayal looks like when it's finished. Not just the act, but the narrative that follows. They don't just leave, they rewrite why they left, and they make sure everyone hears their version before you even realize what happened. Here's what I need you to understand. You cannot control their story. You cannot chase people down and correct the record. What you can control is this: whether you keep giving to someone who has already shown you what they do with what you give them. They told you who they are, believe them, and walk away. Let me leave you with something I tell every client who sits in my office after being betrayed by someone they helped. Helping isn't saving, loving isn't forgetting yourself, and giving isn't sacrificing who you are for someone who will never appreciate what it cost you. The people who deserve your help will never make you feel small for giving it. Strong people appreciate help. Weak people experience it as a threat. That isn't a hard rule, but it's a pattern I've seen confirmed 1,000 times. So the next time you want to help someone, help. But help with open hands, not open veins. Give what you can afford to lose, and never, never give to the point where losing them means losing yourself. Have you ever helped someone and ended up regretting it? Tell me what happened in the comments. I read every single one. If this is the kind of content that makes you think, subscribe. I post every week about the psychology behind the relationships that shape your life. And if someone you know needs to hear this today, send it to them. It might be the thing that finally helps them stop bleeding for people who wouldn't do the same.